Welcome back. We're still on WWDC and the release from Apple. Now, what I'm talking about today is macOS. And while I'm talking about macOS, I will talk about the hardware release. Now, macOS, a lot of new features. We're talking about continuity camera. Continuity camera has been there before, but it has been upgraded to allow you to use your phone as a webcam. Amazing feature. As a matter of fact, based on what they show in the keynote, your phone quality is 5-10 times better than the webcam. Right, so one of the good things about using continuity camera is that you now have access to all 3 cameras on your iPhone. That's if you're using an iPhone 13, 12, any one of the phones that has 3 cameras. Now, when you're using this, it also has a feature that allows you to use 2 cameras simultaneously. You're using the ultra wide camera almost like a top-down camera, and you're using one of the other cameras to focus on you as the person. That is pretty cool. Continuity camera is actually a good feature. I like it. I am running macOS 13 right now. A lot of the features I cannot take advantage of. I have been trying to get my iPhone 10 with iOS 16 to do the continuity camera on my laptop. I don't know if the continuity camera thing, it only works on the M chips. I don't know. It's just not working for me. I don't know if a lot of persons are going to be using their phone for their webcam, but at least you have the option too, straight from iOS. This is not a new feature. Someone made a software a couple of months ago, probably like a year now, that you plug the camera into the computer. You can use a third-party software, but Apple does this all the time. People make software and then Apple integrate it in their operating system and kills that software. MKHB have a video talking about that specifically. Let's talk about other features. Features like passkey. What I think passkey is what I use a lot right now, that name Keychain. So passkey is now a more upgraded version of Keychain. You can use your authentication like your Face ID, your Touch ID to give authorization to a lot of stuff on your computer. The next thing we want to talk about is Spotlight. So Spotlight has also been upgraded. It has more capability of searching the computer and searching the web and all of these things. Also in macOS, you have FaceTime handoff. Now FaceTime handoff seems to be more an ecosystem type of flex, whereas you can be on a call on your computer and decide that you want to share it on your iPad or send it to your phone. So it's more an ecosystem flex. I believe it works across the board from the phone to the computer and from the computer to the phone, or the iPad to the phone, or the iPad to the computer. So, but they spoke about it in the event in macOS. Another important feature is mail. So in mail, you normally can send a mail like right away. Now you have the option to send mail now, send mail later, send mail 2 weeks from now. You have the option to choose when you want the mail to send. You can also delete a mail if it was sent. Now let's talk about the hardware. Hardware that Apple released, we're talking about the M2 chip with the new MacBook AIR and the M2 chip with the old MacBook Pro 13-inch. Apple, why you did us like that? Why would you release a 1-year-old computer with a new chip with the same price? I don't get it. I don't get why we have the 13-inch MacBook Pro. It just makes no sense. I wouldn't encourage anyone to spend their money on this 13-inch MacBook Pro, despite that it has the M2 chip in it, which will make it much faster than the 13-inch M1 MacBook Pro. But if you need a 13-inch, the M1 MacBook Pro probably can work for you. And the M2 MacBook Air, because of the M1 architecture, or the M architecture now that we have more than one, is so efficient and so powerful. You don't need that extra fan or anything to get what you need to get out of your MacBook Air. So that's the only difference between the 13-inch and the MacBook Air. The 13-inch has fans and stuff like that, which they're saying, well, if you're doing heavy lifting or more loads, you actually can use the 13-inch to do that. The 13-inch should have been stripped. The 13-inch shouldn't have been released. And I wouldn't encourage no one to spend their money on that 13-inch. The weird thing about it is that the M2 MacBook Pro 13-inch doesn't have MagSafe, while the MacBook Air has MagSafe. So now let's think about it. If the MacBook Air has MagSafe and 2 Thunderbolt 4 port, and the M2 MacBook Pro only have 2 Thunderbolt 4 port, you're actually losing a port there, because you have to use one of the Thunderbolt 4 port to charge your MacBook Pro 13-inch. It doesn't make any sense at all. So why should someone buy this? Why? The 13-inch still have the touch bar. Unless you need the touch bar. The touch bar itself was very underused. You have a lot of person who love it, but the touch bar itself was very underused. So I'm glad that Apple went a different direction with the MacBook Pro 14 and 16-inch when they released it with the M1 chip. So I don't understand this that Apple is doing, where they're releasing one thing and they're stepping back. I don't get it. I understand that the M2 chip is not as powerful as the M1 chip Max and the M1 chip Pro and even the M1 chip Ultra. I get that. I understand where that falls, because the M2 chip or the M1 chip is the beginner chip, so to speak. When the M2 Pro and the M2 Max and the M2 Ultra comes out, those will be better chips than the M1 Ultra, Max and Pro. I understand that, but this Apple releasing a MacBook Pro 13-inch that looks like the MacBook Pro 13-inch M1 with nothing else changed. There's nothing on it changed. They don't even give you an SD card. They gave you nothing but an old computer with a new chip. Why you did us like that, Apple? Might as well. You never released the 13-inch. With this new MacBook Air and the M2 chip, with all the power that the M2 chip has in it, you never needed to release the 13-inch. It never needed to happen. So that is my problem right now with the hardware that was released at WWDC. That's my issue with it. The MacBook Air, amazing. It looks great. It looks amazing, especially the midnight, which people are saying it look like black, it look like blue, but midnight, when you look in the sky, most times it's kind of blue tint, and based on the lighting, it might give you a different vibes. But come on, Apple, I'm kind of disappointed in the 13-inch. It's an old shape, it's an old chassis, it's just old, and we release it in a new event with a new computer. I don't know, but that's my feelings towards it. That's it. Don't buy the 13-inch MacBook Pro with the M2 chip. It's not worth it. It's not. Alright guys, thanks for watching. Feel free to like, share and subscribe this video if you enjoyed it. I'm Shango. See you in the next one.